We have fire. It's burning down pretty good now. Just wasted all this time and effort. Let's give this another shot. Hello, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm Bill. Glad you could join me. Today we're going to take a look at the tripod lashing. Poles that you've seen me harvesting earlier, and I had to do some scouting to find some suitable deadfall for this demonstration. And afterwards we're going to use this to lift a downed ponderosa pine as a demonstration. We're going to use this tripod as a primitive crane using the lever and fulcrum principle. So with that said, there's two different ways you can do a tripod lashing. The first way is the in and out method. I guess it's called the Cub Scout or Boy Scout method, where you weave your line in and out around your poles here. Just like this. And then after the wrapping is done, we're going to use a technique called frapping, where we cinch the bindings down in between the poles. You can use this method if you like. I personally don't prefer that method because for me personally it feels like it takes a little more time having to weave in and out. So the way I do, I run the wrapping, the cordage rather, around the poles just like this. And the frapping technique, apologize for that, some dirt bikers cruising by on a trail. The frapping technique is exactly the same, where we frap in between these poles to cinch the binding. For me, this is just an easier method, so I'm going to demonstrate the method that I personally find easier. If you prefer to weave it in and out using the Boy Scout method, go for it. Whichever works for you, utilize that method. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to anchor this, start this off with a clove hitch. Now this is one continuous piece of cordage, it's 50 feet of paracord 1100 for this demonstration. It's the heavy duty paracord. And I'm going to leave it all in one piece here. So when it comes down, I don't have to splice in. I can just drop one continuous piece off of the tripod down. We're going to hook in a lever using Marline spike hitches, and then drop it down to the log with a timber hitch for the lifting demonstration. And so what we're going to do is, so bear with me, I wanted to go through all that because I'm not going to cut the cordage, so I've got 50 feet of cordage out here. So we're going to put we're going to start this off with a clove hitch. And this is why I said bear with me, because I'm going to have to pull all this cordage through here. That's why I peeled off about 10 feet of cordage on the other side. That way I have a much shorter run of cordage. Cut a stick. Neaten it up, snug it down. Now we have a clove hitch to start this off. So get your poles more or less evened up. So that is our anchor point. This is going to be our running end here once we are done here. We'll build off of this into our marline spike hitches. So we're going to run 3 wraps around here. So just remember, when you run your wraps, don't overlap them. Run them parallel to one another. Just keep it nice and neat. Now we have 3 wraps on here. Grab yourself a stick. We're going to use this as a toggle. The reason why we want this is so we can grip the line, and we're going to pull this snug. You don't have to get it overly snug yet because we're going to wrap in between these bindings. That's going to really squeeze these upper and lower wraps together. We're going to run 3 more wraps around here, 3 more turns. For a total of 6 when we're done. We have 6 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go ahead and give it another pull here with the toggle. So I ran it around here, and now we're going to go in between. This is why you don't want to get it too overly tight in the beginning. You have to be able to get your cordage down inside here, and if you have to, you can move your poles around a bit to give yourself a little bit of slack here. There we go. You want to make sure these stay flat and even with one another. Okay, so now that we're inside, I'm going to run this cordage through 3 times. We're going to go 3 turns around here. Sometimes you just have to muscle it through. If you need a stick or whatever to poke it through, do what you got to do to get it down in there. Just keep these flat. This is where the toggle comes in handy. Helps you grip the line better. This is going to be our 3rd turn. I got a knot sticking up. There it goes. Got a knot down in here it keeps getting hung up on. So When you get to this point, get you guys lined up here a little bit better so you can see what I'm doing. You get to this point, you have 3 wraps. Bring your toggle into play here. And this is your frap. If you have to, get a knee up on here and pull. Get it nice and snug. Now what we're going to do, we're going to cross over to the next one. And again, if you have to move your poles around, to get down, to get the cordage in, do what you have to do. Now we're going to come up through. I've got a little more of a gap down lower here, so that's where I brought my cordage in. There we go. And again, 3 wraps. There it goes. Snug it up. Turn into a little bit of a wrestling match. Try and keep all your everything as flat as you can. Hung up on a knot there. There we go. I've got a wider gap down lower here, so I've been starting it off. There we go. Down at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and cinch this one down, and then we're going to finish it off with a clove, another clove hitch on the other side here. There we go. Got another knot on this side that's running interference. There we go. See if I can get this piece of cordage down here where I want it to be. Neaten everything up and snug it up with the toggle. And that is how you do a tripod lashing. A little bit of a wrestling match, but this is a very secure way, and the frapping in between the bindings here, the outer bindings, really cinches this cord down nice and snug. Okay, I'm over here at the tripod. This is why I left the long running end here. We have plenty of cordage here to do what we need to do. That way there's no splices. Down here, I've already dug underneath with a digging stick. Underneath the logs so I can get the cordage under there. I'm going to secure that with a timber hitch. Okay, let's go ahead and get the, and I've got a huge fulcrum over here. It's probably a lot bigger than is needed, but it's going to provide a lot of leverage. So we're going to have to kind of get that hooked up. My plan is to hook it in into the line using Marline spike hitches. That way the load, when the cordage is placed under load, it's not going to cinch down and tighten any knots, which will be almost impossible to get undone with paracord. So we'll give that a shot and see how that works. That's a huge fulcrum. That should provide a lot of leverage. Stay tuned. Just a brief update. I'm going to have to get some decent rope in order to finish this video out. I did a dry run with the paracord. It works great for the tripod lashing. It's way too stretchy. The stuff just, I pull all the slack out of it, and using the lever, it would just stretch. I mean, unbelievable amount of stretching. So I'm going to get some decent rope, and I'll have to, it's getting kind of late in the day, so I got to put this video on hold for right now. I'll pick up some decent rope, and we'll go ahead and give it another shot. I was just able to get that log up off the ground like maybe an inch, and then I couldn't believe how much that paracord was stretching. So anyways, it works good as a lashing. No good for a lot of load on it. It stuff stretches almost like a rubber band. So I don't know if maybe I got a bad batch of paracord or what the deal is. So, but anyways, just a brief update. Just letting everybody know. Don't try to use this paracord for this type of purpose. It won't work. So I'm going to go and pick up some decent rope, and we'll give this another shot. So stay tuned.